Yeah, man, that's crazy. Peace to you, brothers. Willie and brother Joseph, how y'all doing?
Yeah.
Peace, brother. Just setting up. How you doing?
Hey, I'm hanging in there, hanging in there. Um, praising the Most High, thanking Him for His mercy to be
Yeah,
here.
all this
Always be.
war and stuff going on. People losing their families. It's a
We,
tough world.
you talking about something specific, like you heard about, or like what do you mean? Just in general?
In general, even with the war that's going on over there, man.
Oh man, Louisiana.
No, I'm talking about over there on the other side of the world, man, on the east side.
Oh, you talking about in the land?
Yeah, in the land. It's nuts.
But they just announced the
Peace, like they trying.
peace, ceasefire.
Yeah, well, so there's been a lot of firing until they stop.
Yeah, right. You'll see how long that lasts, you know. You'll see how long that lasts.
You're right.
Yeah, it's
Peace to
tough.
everybody. Peace to everybody.
Peace, brother. Again, brother Joseph, peace, brother Elbert, and
Peace,
brother.
everyone.
Peace.
Peace.
Man.
How y'all doing?
Yeah.
How I feel, man. Got that pressure off you.
Feel good. Feel
Feels
good.
good. Congratulations
Good.
again, man.
Thank you.
Yeah. Um, wait for brother Elbert to come on. Yeah. Yeah, everything is so, I always say everything is so volatile. People don't realize how delicate systems are. Systems are extremely delicate and when they are you know, like you think about it, not too many months ago, I just saw Ted Cruz press conference part. I didn't watch the entirety of it or it's in its entirety, but he was talking and one of the speakers, I believe it was maybe even a representative. He was talking about how just a few months ago, these these countries were normalizing their relationships with Israel under the Trump administration. And now, you know, but they everything was, and I'm not going to bat for the Trump administration or anything like that. But just a few months later, now it's havoc. It's chaos, you know. And one thing about Trump is they knew that the United States was
Israel.
with Israel, and they would bring the pain if you tried to do something against them. So their stance was not as strong as the current stance is not as strong. Again, I'm not saying that they're right. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying how that kept things in balance. I was talking to my dad today about how nuclear because we were talking about the military. Speaking of this, I might as well bring this up now. First of all, who is Riney? Riney? Who's that?
Never heard.
Not sure who that is or how they got this code. Nobody know who that is. I'm gonna kick somebody out now. I want to make sure. All right. Well, anyway, because I don't remember giving it to anybody else. Nevertheless, did anybody see the ad for the military? The new ad that's like a cartoon.
No.
No.
Y'all didn't see this?
They're using the cartoon?
Man. Okay, so I watched this video. It was comparing the three. It was comparing Russia. They're recruiting ads. They're trying to recruit, young men to join the military. You had China. They're trying to recruit people to join the military. And then it was compared to the most recent United States recruitment ad. And oh my goodness, you haven't seen this. I want to
No.
see if I can show you this.
I'm gonna look it up.
Hold on one second. Man, it's crazy. But and we were talking about how delicate things were as far as nuclear powers go. Countries like Russia and the United States, they don't attack each other because they understand to shoot off one of those nuclear weapons means one's coming back at you. So that causes balance. That's a balance. But once you disturb that balance in any way, that's why during the Reagan administration, they were trying to get rid of some of the nuclear weapons. You get rid of some, I'll get rid of some, because there's a delicate balance there. It doesn't take much. You saw that with the nuclear, with the Cuban Missile Crisis.
I heard something today.
Mm-hmm.
Iran actually shot some drone down, Israel's drone down.
Really?
Yeah. I'm sensing, they're definitely looking at our presidency and seeing some weakness, some gaps, and it ain't as sturdy as it was. And
yeah,
they're letting things fly right now and just like, all right, we're gonna bring it.
Yeah.
I think that's definitely what it is they see where we are. And nobody's sitting here like, screaming pro-Trump, but like you said, it was a little bit order, some balance, and things was a little calm on that. But like you said, months later, and allies of allies of allies, you got a world war.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, and on the flip side of that, you got China. You could tell China and Russia, their military ads, as far as recruitment ads, they're about that business. They like, hey, we ready to go to war. We're ready to fight. Nationalism, ready to fight. This is the latest U.S. Army recruitment ad. Let's watch that real quick. Fair use. Hold on. Can you brother see this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, hold on.
Recruitment ad highlights the GBC parade and then
This is for the military.
And a fairy stuff down.
Oh man, it's over.
This is what we fighting for, huh?
Man, I just had this discussion with my son with some more recruitment goals.
Fair use.
I say it. Mm-hmm.
I'm super confused.
It said LGBT. It said alphabet recruiting.
Say it again, brother.
I was trying to read the letters, so I just called it alphabet recruiting because I can't remember all the letters anymore.
Man, if you could have seen the Chinese ads, I mean, they said, and first of all, it's not a cartoon.
Right.
It's real. They setting off bombs. They extremely masculine, extremely aggressive, showing their technology, showing these things. And they got cartoon ads with two moms trying to recruit people who, and it's funny because the people who they're recruiting, they don't seem like the army type.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to one of the ladies talk, and they said there's not a lot of hand-to-hand, not a lot of combat anymore. So they're basing that on just pushing buttons is what I was saying that they can push the buttons. They don't need the people to carry all that heavy equipment and stuff until they need somebody to carry all that equipment.
It depends on the branch.
So that's what I guess they're going to
expound on that, brother, if you would.
So for like me, with us, there's very few career fields that actually like do combat stuff. I think maybe for my branch it's like 4, maybe 5. Whereas with the Marines, you're a Marine first and then everything else comes second.
The Marines, those boys, they send in first, right? They send in first like the spear, and then here comes the infantry. Is that correct?
Yeah, the Marines and then the Army, and everybody else follows suit. But yeah, with Marines, you're infantry first, and then your job is second.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, man. Peace to you, brother Anthony. I didn't know who that was. I'm used to ASI Motors. I'm sitting there looking like, hold on, man. How you doing, brother?
Good, man. I was wondering if I was saying under something different.
No,
I saw Riney right there. That's my last name. I'm like, dang, that look kind of different.
My fault. I'm so used to ASI Motors. I
I'm on my
apologize.
desktop
I'm asking
today.
around. Don't nobody know nothing. I'm like, oh man. Hey,
Appreciate it.
oh, good to see you. The topic is, how do we as brothers deal with how should we deal with conflict? And what inspired this topic for me? Has anybody been watching Kwame Brown snap back at the world? Anybody seen this?
Just now.
Just now.
I just looked it up too.
Yeah, I did.
He's snapping, right? People had something to say about him. They call him the biggest bust in basketball NBA history, which, I mean, he was 17 years old. He went first round, number 1, and he was in a bad situation. But he played for like 12 years. You know? So my thing is, anytime you in the NBA and you established vet, that's a win.
Right.
You can't, and they talk about him bad. And he say, man, and he made $65 million during the course of his career. I want to lose like that.
Right.
I want to be a bust like that. But what made me think about this topic is because he says something, in his response, in the midst of calling people a punk and a B and just pulling people card. He said, "Don't talk about me, talk to me. Don't talk about me, talk to me." In other words, you have something to say, talk to me. And then people that was speaking kind of for him, he said, "No, you don't speak for me." And so I thought about the ways in which we as men should deal with each other, and how you oftentimes see us deal with each other. You even see that in the word. I'm seeing things, on Facebook, people going back and forth, and it's just like, man, you really shouldn't be talking about this individual. But I don't know what you brothers think about as far as that, how we should, what are some things that we should deal with in regard, or how should we deal with conflict as men? Anybody have anything on that?
I got something.
Go ahead,
brother Albert.
No, go ahead, brother.
So for me, I'm the type, if you can't say it to the person, then you shouldn't say it at all. At least if you are going to say it to them first. On top of that, make sure, especially if you're feeling some sort of animosity, go to them and say it to their face. Go to them and talk to them about it face to face. And over the last few years, I've noticed a lot of men can't do that.
No.
They'll think that either there's about to be some physical problems, or they can't be in the situation without buckling emotionally, whether that's getting sad or getting angry really quick. I can sit in the situation and be fine and just say what I got to say, and then let that be it. Either I'm gonna rock with you after that, or I'm not gonna rock with you, but I'm not gonna, be in my feelings about it. But most people, either they get in their feelings about it when it happens, or they just totally try to avoid the situation with pretty much with all their might. And I think most men, not only do they not know how to express themselves, period, but they don't know how to talk to each other. So it ends up just being this whole big issue of nothing really getting solved, or at least very few things. And when it does get solved, it's already came to a head, to the point that you should have been able, the point at which you should have been able to avoid. Period.
Someone say somebody already been shot, and somebody already in jail.
Yep.
Resolved by a judge in the courts.
Yep.
Yeah, brother. Thank you, brother. Yeah, when you say it to their face, I can't even. If somebody come to me with saying something somebody else said about me, I'm questioning you. It's like I act like I'm like I didn't hear them say that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I can't, because then I'm like, well, I have to question why you bringing this to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not close to me, my circle is extremely small. So if somebody in my circle brings, I know for a fact it's true. When I'm talking small, I'm talking real small. But then, like, I'm like, wait a minute. Who are you? Why are you bringing this to me? You trying to keep up? You trying to keep up mess? You know, that's how I think. If somebody's just bringing something to me, they said this about you. Not saying that happens a lot. I'm just saying if it does. Brother Elbert, what we gonna say, brother?
No, I was just gonna, because that's some of the things I had been looking up. When I looked at Titus, chapter 3 and verse 10, where it talks about warn a divisive person once, and then warn them a second time. Now this is in the this says NLV, so I'm not sure, but that was one of the things I was talking about. When you talking about people talking about you, like you said, this verse fits what you were just talking about, Brother Elisha, but it depends on what's the agenda when you contact that person back.
Right.
Because Brown was throwing bombs that he obviously was looking for a physical altercation and putting people on the spot. So that's obviously not a good way to handle it. And as far as the things amongst the brethren, like I said, I've learned some things just the time I spent with you gentlemen. That because you know, it seems like growing up around here, everything is so aggressive that being around calmer heads seem to bring people down or bring things to an even keel. Did you find that? Let me see. That NIV, but that's why I wonder what people's agenda are. Do they want peace, or like that video I watched of Brown? It was like he just wanted straight out violence.
Yeah, but did you? I mean, well, I think that stuff might have built up because they've been talking about him for a long time.
Yeah.
So
and
probably, I mean, 20 years. I mean, it seemed like 20 years almost. They've been talking about him, and he's always the butt of jokes and everything. And then they were talking, but he never, he was quiet all those years. And so, man, he's been snapping. Yeah.
I can say,
but in Titus 3 and 10, when it said a man that is a heretic out of the first and second admonition reject. So that's dealing in the word if somebody's bringing false doctrine.
Okay, my apologies.
Like they bring in heresy. Okay. So after the first time you tell them like, hey, this is not right, and they keep bringing it. Hey, like if they bring any type of heretical teaching, that's what that's talking about.
Okay, that's what I get looking up at NIV.
Oh yeah, they'll change it on you. They'll take something out and change it on you. I haven't read. Well, I can't tell you right off the top of my head what it says in the NIV, but I know the King James is referring to heresy.
They were talking about it, but the athlete, you're gonna, because I'm sure everybody. I said, being an athlete like that, you're gonna catch people going to clown you. They clowning Tim Tebow right now, and but he's not snapping back at people like that.
Well, I think you're talking about circles. Those in the Jacksonville organization understand this is a business move.
Oh, no doubt. But I meant
go ahead.
The same people that's beating on Kwame Brown, or they've been beating on Tim Tebow forever too.
Yeah, but Tim Tebow is a outspoken, like he has a big, huge following.
True.
You know, and he's beloved. He's probably arguably one of the greatest college players to ever play.
I'll agree with all that.
And then, you know, him going and not see, that just shows people talking about white privilege. I mean, it may be some in regard to how he's being viewed by the media.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nobody else could do that. Not too many brothers could do that. They trying to get rid of you when you still could play. But his is, he got that because it's Jacksonville.
Right.
It's a business move. They're gonna sell out that stadium. They just got the #1 pick and Trevor Lawrence at quarterback, and now they got Tebow. People are going to pay to see that. That's business. That's just a business. That ain't got nothing to do with talent. That, you know, that man been out of the league, I don't know how many years. So this is a straight business move. So I understand that. They trying to make paper. That ain't got nothing to do, you know.
Well, I mean his critics.
I'm just talking about from Jacksonville perspective.
Oh, I get Jacksonville's reason. Yeah.
But now you look at his play, his critique, you know.
He was terrible.
Yeah, but but see, he wasn't a laughing stock though. Like, well, to me, and make correct, like, I don't know what you think about it, Brother Elbert. With Kwame, they say like they made him try to make him into a laughing stock. He's always the butt of, you know, he's a, like, quote unquote, calling him a scrub and all that stuff. That's what I'm saying. Like, they kind of,
I ain't following that close. Yeah.
It was kind of mean-spirited stuff. But I don't know. But I understand what you're saying about Tim Tebow as far as the criticism.
Yeah, all right.
But like I say, man, you play 12 years and make $65 million before taxes. I don't see how that's a bust.
It's funny how people want to talk from the stands.
And I think that just like when people, sometimes you run into people that just want to talk and tell bear and do these things, keep up mess. It's like, that's how social media is. And the media, it's like, especially in sports, especially with the pandemic, they have to have something to talk about. So they make up narratives, and in the making up of narratives, they're very judgmental. It's like, man, you talking about these people, like you remember, for example, you remember Scalabrini used to play for Boston. Now he was considered on a lower tier level player.
He
but
can shoot.
That man, what'd you say?
He can shoot.
That man, he's still one of the best basketball players in the world. I saw him this month do somebody dirty on the basketball court. Like all the talking heads, a lot of these people talking about people, you can't even do anything that they do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, but yeah, I agree also with you saying, brother, as far as how you responding to some of this stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a way to respond, you know. Anybody else had anything?
I'll chime in. I guess some of it is, you know, self-inflicted though. Like you round pick #1. I mean, you pick #1. It's high expectations for you.
Uh-huh.
You know, in a career where the world is watching you and it's high expectation, if you don't live up to the hype, you're gonna get that backlash. That's to be expected in all sports. And we've seen it throughout all sport careers. Like everybody you name, if they didn't live up to #1, they got it. But as men in that world though, like any one of these careers as a pro athlete, they're not living how do you say, like a commandment-filled life, and they don't. I'm just saying, I can't really speculate that, but I do know that they play games on Sabbath and all these other things. Like they have their games is whenever, you know. So you got to live up to that contract. You got to keep that going. So I can't expect these men to actually have the right perceptions on how to deal with other men. That's some things that people who are coming into the word are just learning. You know what I mean? And you could have been on the basketball team for 12 years and now you retire and you finally understand something. Maybe, you know, you're out of that system and, you know, life, God pulled you in another direction. So it's just possible. That behavior is obviously still not on a biblical level of, you know, this is how we deal with one another face to face if we have issues. He's just lashing out. Maybe he's going through something seriously personal, and this stuff is really just, you know, breaking the ice. Like, that's it. I got to give it up. It's been too many years of staying quiet. So, unfortunately, it's not the correct way to handle it. Me personally, I'm the kind of person, if we're having a conversation and something goes left, I'm right there. We're both going to be left. And that's probably the problem. Not that I'm going to go sideways and hurt you or violate you, no, but if things need to be said at that moment, it's going to be said at that moment. I'm not going to stop the conversation. Go talk to somebody else about you. And I could have said it right then and there. That's just been something I'm thinking I'll have to work on, because I'm not mean. I'm bold and brash a little. I'll tell you what it is. You know, I apologize a lot about it, because I don't like to apologize about it, because it's the truth. If I'm saying it, because I don't like talking about people. It's one thing I hate to do. And that's one thing I've, you know, failed some of my previous marriages, was things that people talking about people like we perfect. I hated that. And we all got problems, you know, don't talk about anybody. That was something I've always dealt with. So yeah, it's just easier to deal with people as they come. And like you say, brush off when somebody else brings a word that such and such said, such and such. Is, you know, if he don't say it to my face, it's like it never happened. You know what I mean? It never happened. So when that person has a problem with me, bring it to me. We could talk about it. So that's just how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I look at it. I'm always looking at things through a biblical lens, and I think what's playing out, obviously in the public, is something that play out amongst people every single day on the ground level, and we've all been in those situations. And I look at it, and like you said you're the number one draft pick, you're supposed to deliver, but then also you think about it on the appearance, on the outside looking in. Sometimes we think it's something that is not, or we don't have all the facts and details. So what I mean by that is, like I was saying earlier, we can look at it, oh, you was number one, you're supposed to ball out, you're supposed to be a Hall of Famer. Well, what circumstances prevented you from doing that? You know, we don't know. I'm saying that to say, like, even when we look at people's lives, we can be on the outside and be talking about something, and we don't got all the facts. Right. So we see that in situations all the time. You probably been there when people saying things about you and they don't even know what happened. They don't know the details. So you really shouldn't be talking. That's one thing. It's just to get into trying to segue into something you can do to prevent conflict. One thing we could do is stop talking about stuff when we don't have all the details. You know what I'm saying? In that way, like making judgments about something or about a situation that we don't know, that because that can cause conflict. You know, because a lot of times you hear something from somebody, you'll hear the situation, hear the details, and they don't tell you their part in it.
Right.
You know, so that's one way I think that I just think about in ways you can cut down conflict is you know, how you can't really speak on things you don't know the whole story about. I think we do that very easily.
Yeah, too often.
Without qualifying, saying I don't know everything, you know. I see that dealing with people with, like, in ministry, as far as like counsel and different people's like relationships, particularly like you mentioned marriage. You'll get everything that somebody did bad on one side, but hey, if you've been doing it for a little while, you know, oh, it's something else on this other side. Mm-hmm. That'll have you looking at the first person like, are you the problem?
Right.
You know? So I think that's, you know, as far as conflict resolution, that's one thing. But did anybody else have anything as far as how as men we need to deal with conflict?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say that them going to social media have made like the entire conflict worse, because it just it made the whole thing look Well, people should know all your business. People should know all your business. And I think like some people from the Breakfast Club was talking about him or something. And I think that if you have a problem with somebody, you should go talk to them about it. You shouldn't just get online and just say disparaging remarks about people, because you're just trying to just fluster some nonsense. So
yeah, that's the way we communicate today. Get on social media.
Yeah.
And but like you said, if you got, I know, the Bible talk about if you got an art with your brother, tell them face to face, and that's amongst brethren though. But even amongst somebody that's not necessarily your brother, you can go to them face to face, and to me that's just a wise way to do it.
Yeah.
One-on-one. Because if it's one-on-one, a lot of times all that people try to do because they fronting for somebody, or you know what I'm saying, all that's out the window. Especially amongst men. If y'all can come to you one-on-one, I don't know, on some rah-rah, just, hey brother, let me talk to you for a second. Right. Hey brother, I did not appreciate such and such. I think that's the best way to do it. But definitely airing it out, But that's, like I said, I like what he said. He said, don't talk about me, talk to me.
Yeah, he said something else too. He was like, if somebody says you crazy one day, and then they make the decision to call somebody else crazy, like, he was basically saying, are you going to like continue to agree with just random decisions that they make about your character or who you are as a person when they don't know you? And I thought that made a lot of sense, because a lot of people that was talking about him, like you said, don't know who he is. So,
well, or I don't know the situation he was in.
Yeah.
Just on the surface, you number one, you with this, you supposed to be this, and you not. It's like, wait a minute, man. Look at the pressure he was under. Look at his age. Look at the organization, and then who knows what else was going on to prevent him from perhaps. Maybe if he would have been in what would happen if he was under Popovich?
He would have been different. You're right. Your surroundings make a big difference.
Your surroundings make a big. So that's the same thing in situations in general. Like, sometimes you don't know the circumstances. You don't know the circumstance, and that can cause conflict. Any other things as far as keeping down conflict?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, one thing I just thought of when y'all were talking about that. Didn't he play with Jordan first year? I think they said that when I was reading. I'm sure that wasn't easy. You know what I mean? It was a lot of guys that played with Jordan. And he played with the Bulls, and it wasn't easy.
No, but he'd punch in your mouth.
Yeah, but as far as the conflict part of it, I wouldn't have handled it that way. Because I think somebody said they're more private. I'm kind of like that too, and I don't really like a lot of drama.
Right.
But overall, as far as what he did, I don't think he did anything necessarily bad. I mean, it could have been a whole lot worse. If something really was heavy on him, he could have ended up over there blowing those dudes' heads off. So many people in prison right now just for doing stupid stuff.
And that's what happens. That's what happens. Because eventually, all that talking, you got to back that talk up.
Right.
In the streets, at least. You can't just do all that in the streets and it be known. And then when y'all see each other out, it be nothing. You know what I'm saying?
I was talking to a friend of mine today. He made a dumb decision a long time ago, ended up getting like 30 years for trafficking, did 10 years. Mm-hmm. He was just telling me a story about one of his other friends that he saw. It was basically a white guy what? In the prison with where they were. I guess they've been popping off. Huh?
Kind of bored me a little bit. You going in and out. Can you say it was a guy in prison and what else?
Well, it was a white guy that was in the prison with them, I guess, in their little area. Mm-hmm. And he had been, I guess, punking a lot of guys that come through there. Well, he said when his friend came, when he got there and he talked to his friend, he said, "Oh man, I heard your boy got hooked to, this guy that had been punking everybody." You know, I mean, he basically put his hands on. So I mean, stuff could just pop off.
Yeah, I think. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just for him to respond with that video, I think that was pretty.
Yeah, I think to me, like, I think that one way you could conflict can go down is respect everybody around you.
Right.
No matter what.
Yes.
Like that don't mean obviously let people walk on over you, but show people respect that anybody, you know what I'm saying? Because quite frankly, anybody can kill you. You need to respect the people around you. You need to respect people, everybody around you. You need to respect power. You need to respect, you know, like people in authority. You need to respect those things around you. And that'll bring down conflict. I think a lot of conflict is born with ego.
Right.
What about that one scripture where it said, love?
Going in and out, bro.
Submit yourself and love one another, something like that. That kind of describe what you said.
I couldn't hear you, brother. Say it again.
Oh, that one scripture where they have it says, submit yourselves to one another in love, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of describes what you're saying right there. You know, if everybody, you know, kept the law and, you know, respected the other person as you respect yourself, sort of thing.
Yeah, a lot of the Bible's telling, particularly in the New Testament, is telling you that because, you know, as far as even amongst brethren, because that's the one thing too. Anytime you have human beings, you're gonna have conflict. If you have one human being, there's gonna be conflict. It's gonna be internal.
Be internal.
So when you have two, it's war. But how do you keep down conflict? And that's, like I said, respecting the people around you, respect, you know what I'm saying? And certainly brethren should people in the faith should do that. And that's what, you know, that Paul is dealing with that a lot. You know, it's even cases where it was so much conflict between him and a brother, they had to separate. That's why Paul said, live peaceably with all men, if it be possible. If it be possible, live peaceably with all men. Sometimes it's not even possible. So then what do you do in order to keep down conflict? You separate. Or like Abraham told Lot, hey man, I'm in a quarreling, you go to the right, I go to the left, you go to the left, I go to the right. You know? But then sometimes when you're dealing with people that's not in the word, like I said, man, people, you know, sometimes people get emotional. I think a lot of our men are emotional because they've been raised by women, quite frankly, and they're not dealing with logic. You got to respect everybody out here. You know, you mad if you behind somebody in traffic and you beeping your horn, you don't know that person.
Right.
You best around beep your horn at the wrong person, they kill you.
Yes, sir.
You know, I've always found even like sometimes like when I used to go out, and this is a long time ago, I'm talking before I was in the word, you know, I was in the clubs a lot. Man, people bump into you all the time in the club.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, my apologies, brother. You know what I'm saying? I didn't mean it might not even be my fault. Right. But or if it was my fault, sometimes, you know, you gotta take that swat because people trying to again preserve their ego. I can't have you step on my shoes. You know, it's women around here.
I know a guy doing life in prison for something like that.
Well, I can go in here and fight. But you take that, my apologies, good brother. I apologize. Before they can even say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if they still tripping and they drunk, then we might have a problem. But other than that, you know, I think that's how you gotta be. But real quick, something else he said. He said about he was talking specifically about the talking heads. He said that y'all sit around and destroy the black male image all day long. I had never thought about commentators sitting around and just tearing. I knew they were tearing down people because they always talking about how you ain't this, you ain't that. Even some of the best. They'll look at LeBron and say, you ain't Jordan. They'll look at, you know, you ain't this, you deficient in this way. But what do y'all think about that as far as the destruction of the black male image, if anything at all?
I believe there is a problem with that. When you're talking about somebody, how they performed athletically, mm-hmm. that doesn't bother me as much as when they go into personal attacks. Like anytime we watch a newscast, That's all I see is somebody being vilifying black men, especially the talking when they get a black person on Fox News. That seems to be precisely what they brought them on for. And a lot of these little talking heads on YouTube now, it's like they found a champion that they could use so that they won't have to speak for themselves.
Okay.
Like that one preacher, there's a preacher on, watch this show called The Fallen State.
You talking about Jesse Lee Peterson?
Jesse Lee.
Whole show is dogging black people out. And that I found offensive more so than just talking about a man's athletic career. Because, a sport is, yes, but when they go into their personal lives and all that and tear down how they walk their daily lives, that seems to be the agenda. It seems like it justifies the treatment for a whole race of people. Am I making these? That's one thing I have. I'm always, whenever somebody speaks about me or my people, it's a statistic to justify how I'm being treated. So that's one thing I don't have the right in America, is to be an individual. So yes, I'm a statistic no matter what I do to justify my treatment.
You mean treatment as poor treatment?
Oh, right. Yeah, poor treatment, right.
Yeah. I just want to make sure I'm understanding.
Right. Well, when you shoot, when a brother gets shot, well, you 10% of the population, but you commit 50% of the crimes. So I'm guilty of my father's crimes. Well, then you're guilty of your father's crimes. But anyway, sorry, that was a discussion I got in a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I look at that and I understand what you're saying. And then you see that a lot. You'll see, well, I want this black person to say this against their own group, and you have an ulterior motive. I see that. But my thing too is, number one, and that's something that we're not doing, we're not holding ourselves accountable.
We play victim too much.
And also, nobody is coming to save us.
No, ain't nobody coming.
Like, what I mean by that is, like, the problems that we have as a people, it all stems from us turning our back on our God. We as a collective must deal with our issue. But it's like, because quite frankly, I've seen all kind of excuses for behavior that we were not engaged in when we were in a worse position economically. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I look at that. I understand what you're saying. Like, I agree. You got people that'll use black people to say certain things that they can't say because they have an agenda. And my whole thing is, I always look at that and say, man, you have to be accountable for your own actions and basically look to God and look to yourselves, because nobody else is gonna come and help you or care about your situation. Like you said, they're gonna use whatever you're going through. They're gonna come, like you said statistics. They're gonna use something to justify what they're gonna do to you. And so because a lot of times our response to that is, well, either it's apathy or whether it's like, well, who can we vote for to get us out of this situation? I'm like, ain't nobody coming to save us. We ain't got no allies like that. So, but as far as you say, Jesse Lee Peterson, one thing he do talk about is, what do you think? Let me ask you this. What do you think about what he says about black masculinity and manhood?
I agree with him, but he's a terrible example of. Firstly, I don't see him as a good example in no way, but I agree with that. Because I'm considered toxic. I can't even get around the fact that I'm considered toxically masculine nowadays, because I believe in men this, women that, but yeah, there is a falling. That is true. He's right about that. Yeah. But his explanations for stuff is beyond me. I can't make heads or tails.
I'm not saying this. I agree with about as far as what he's saying about race per se. I'm not saying that, but you know, where he talks about, he asks the questions, who's the head of the family? You see him asking people, like, who's the head of a man or woman? And constantly, nobody answers the question. He'll keep on asking, who the head, man or the woman? So, you know, that in that regard, but now I'm not saying people need to go watch him for that, but I'm just saying, like,
that part he has right.
Some things, yeah, certain things. That particular thing he has correct. Anybody else have anything? Nothing
Well,
else?
yeah, I was gonna just on that dude, Jesse. He's not 100%. Nobody's, you know, really 100%, but he be on point with a lot of, like you say, the masculinity, the head of the household, how the black man get in this position, and accountability. He does talk about whose fault is that. You know, what did black men do to not get into certain situations? We all understand systematic racism, but at the same time, we really don't hold ourselves accountable. And a lot of people who comes onto our shows be trying to always point to the systematic racism and not really holding anything else accountable, you know, holding ourselves accountable as men, you know, especially black men. Like, okay. And he started talking, you know, God and, you know, what their positions are with God. Like he attacked a gay pastor one day and the guy walked off the show. And he was just asking regular questions. It wasn't even an attack. It was biblical questions, you know? So it was just like, he comes from the far left with some of his stuff. But I've seen some things that I thought was like, you know what, that's true. That's true. What's, you know, we can't play victim all day long. In some circumstances, we do have to take some responsibility. So
yeah, because that's and see, and just off of him, that's when I think about accountability, I keep thinking, you know, about like your brother even mentioned our murder rate. Brother, we have to do, men I have to do something about that. And nobody gonna come help us with that. You see what I'm saying? That's what I be on. Like, I'm like, yeah, we got to be held accountable for that. We gotta make sure we raising our children the right way, because that's what's out here doing that. Much of that crime is young black men with no guidance. So we gotta make sure, number one, we got ourselves together before we even start reproducing. And number two, we gotta make sure we producing with the right woman who is our woman. You know what I mean? Not just some, you know what I'm saying? Something that you just doing, because that's serious business. So that's my thing. We got to the point now where we won't even be accountable for what we doing. I mean, again, I talk about abortion all the time. Like, you abort 20 million babies and got all kind of excuses. There's no excuse for that. There's really no excuse for that. So like, you could talk about, you know, because at the end of the day, it don't even matter what you're saying. It's like, how you gonna get out of the situation you in? You know what I'm saying? And when we look at the Bible on an individual level and on the national level, he's requiring you to be accountable. He didn't ask you what other people were doing and how they influenced you. He didn't ask you what you felt. You know what I'm saying? He didn't ask you. We gotta be accountable for our behavior. And so that's all when I think about certain things, because I'm like, man, we can get off into that, you know, a lot of looking at it from that perspective. Racism exists. It ain't no question. But at the same time, it's like, but you're helping the situation get worse. We can't continue to do that. You got something, brother?
No, I was gonna say Jesse says it doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's the stuff I don't agree with.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's why I don't agree with that. I'm talking about what he's talking about, masculinity. I agree with some of the things he's saying about with men and being the head of your home and being the head of the woman. That's what I agree with. That stuff he talking about, racism doesn't exist, that's not true. That's not true. But again, even with racism, what are you doing in response to? See what happens is our response to racism, our response is oftentimes inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It's inappropriate. For example, if you look at group economics, okay, you've been locked out of certain situations, locked out of certain economic situations. Why did we refuse to do economics with each other? We refuse to do that.
You get an argument from me. You right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And so our response to, so yeah, this, you see what has happened to us, and you were still going to these abortion clinics and kill 20 million babies.
Mm-hmm.
It's only 43 million Black people in the country or so, something like that. We're 12% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you do that? You see what I'm saying? That's the kind of stuff we got to look at ourselves when it comes to things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Why you got almost 80% of your babies born out of wedlock? We can't, man, you could say what we cannot, because right after slavery, it was more Black people percentage-wise married than white people when they had babies. Those babies, it was more babies percentage-wise born in wedlock than whites. So we like to go and make an excuse, and then somebody gets shot by the police, and we want to burn up the city. But you done shot 60 people that weekend.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of stuff I can't rock with, man. I just look at that like that's hypocrisy.
Super. Mm-hmm.
That's just hypocrisy. We can't blame nobody. Yeah, we got people that have been straight up enemies to our people, straight up in this country. You ain't never hear me say that ain't the case. But what are we doing? Because what we do in relation to our God and with each other is going to determine where we move forward. Yeah, so so that's just what I think on that. Anybody else said anything on this one? I was talking about the black male image.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Would it be a fair question to ask, like, which image? What is the black male image?
Mm.
You know, I mean, because when you look at it, I mean, it's several different stereotypes, or I mean, I don't know. I don't know which one we're talking about.
That's a good point.
Because some people would look at those guys. Those guys are doing great things. You know, they're rich or whatever. They were athletes. They made all this money, and they're well known. You know, public figures now. You know, so
that's a good question.
What
is the black male image? I guess when you think about black males or this image, is there a person you think about, or is there certain qualities or characteristics physically or otherwise that you think about?
I'd answer that question for him. When my son was in middle school, we went to a steakhouse after he got an award.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady asked why he was dressed up. And I said, oh, he just got the Archie Griffin Award over here at his middle school for being a student athlete, blah, 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 something. And then she followed it up with, okay, don't go out there and commit a crime like all the rest of the athletes do. So this image to me, of the black male, it hasn't changed since the image was created after slavery, of the violent, oversexed black man, still patrolling the streets today. I don't believe that image has ever changed. And I went back and I watched some old Sambo movies and stuff where he was portrayed as lazy and shiftless, and there was the asexual mammy running the slave master's house, and then when she came home, she was in charge of the house again at home. So that's the image that I still see portrayed today, and that's why those numbers come up about crime, so they can justify the unjustifiable. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you got to apologize, brother.
It's that book. And see where he's coming from. That's what makes me ask the question, because I've been reading, Malcolm X's book, man, and I mean, we talking about 1920 something, 1940s. I mean, the stories that he's describing, he was just a teenager, going in and out of nightclubs, and I mean, selling drugs,
prostitution, or she was steering, but yeah.
you know, it's not anything new.
Yeah. So, and that's an excellent point both of y'all brothers bring up, the ask the question, and then Brother Elbert saying that hasn't gone anywhere. But the treatment, like I say, I know too much history or read too much history to deny what has happened, right? And so in order for these things to happen, when you talk about 246 years of slavery, 100 years of Jim Crow, now we're in the era of mass incarceration, right? Where blacks, whites, and Latinos sell and use drugs at the same rate, but you saw the 50% those incarcerated were black. So I say all that to say, in order to, or even lynching, you talked about hypersexualization, in order to do those things that were done, in order to sell these kids on an auction block, in order to even rape their wives, in order to beat them with lashes from a whip and work them with no pay all those years, you have to have an ideology that goes along with that justifies it. And so you can go all the way back to when Thomas Jefferson wrote Notes on Virginia. And in that particular piece, he's talking about blacks as being less attractive than whites. He's talking about blacks being less intelligent than whites. He's talking about blacks taking risks, because of a lack of intelligence. So there was this image being built before there were 50 states. There were images being built with Thomas D. Rice with Jim Crow and minstrel shows, like the brother said with Sambo, and this image of a black man being lazy. So yeah, that image of a black man has been, you had to make that image what it is in order to justify what you were doing. And so you had that image, you had the misreading of scripture to justify slavery and black servitude, right? You had pseudoscience with the eugenics, which is what abortion is born, and birth control even is born out of. So you had this image of a black person. And even when you go, and that image through media has been here for hundreds of years, and it's been sent all around the world. So when people get off a plane, will call you the N-word. People will cross a border and call you the N-word. In addition to that, though, I think the image has, on top of the criminality and the hypersexualization and the lack of intelligence, the image has now even become effeminized. So now you have a criminal, immoral black body that is sometimes all brains, no brawn, all brawn, no brains, but then also he has his butt out. Also, he's in a dress. You see what I'm saying? And that image, and that's being pushed. That image, think about some of the, when that is in front of you, when you look at transgenderism in front of you, oftentimes you see black men, biological men, depicted in that way as if they are the majority of men, period. And the majority of men that deal in that life. So I think that's in addition to what the good brother was talking about when he talked about that image. Like even with, and it's there, even with just going back to what he said, how could you sit there and you just got an award, you know what I mean? And or not sit there, but the woman stand in front of you, I'm assuming it was a female, right? You said a female? Stand there while your son just get an award for being a good student athlete and tell him, don't be a criminal. That would not even come into your mind if y'all were Italian Americans. But it comes into the mind because that image has been shaped for hundreds of years. And that's what, and the irony is, that's what most people have in their head of black men. And that's the image we have in ourselves. Our same image. We, like Du Bois talked about double consciousness. how we as Black people look at ourselves through our eyes, but we also look at our eyes through white America. And those are the eyes that basically look at us with shame and contempt, like pity and hatred. So we look at each other with pity and hatred. That's why I look at the book as being so powerful and so liberating, because it's telling you who you are. And if you understand that you are a son of God, if you understand that you are his chosen, that image is destroyed. Now you know what you should be doing. Now you know how you should be walking. Now you know what you're capable of. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, that image though, image is extremely important. And I think it's all kinds of and then another thing I'm gonna let somebody else go. In the media, you only have a finite or limited space to depict your image. And so when you think about the spaces that we have to make films, to be on television, you come up with stuff like Precious, which I think is an American horror story. That's the worst movie ever made. Real talk, man, that was despicable. So you got things like Precious. You got things like Empire. You got things like Lil Nas X. You got it's only a certain amount. And when I was coming up, everything was gangster rap. Everything was what's going on in the hood, as if every Black person was like Doughboy. That's not the case. But I'll pass it over to somebody else has something.
Yes. One of the representation imagery that they put on us is one day I was walking in the street, and more than once, a kid walk up to me, ask me if I have weed to sell. That was one of the images they portray of us. We are always drug dealers.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. And it was troubling because I never smoked drugs, weed, or anything. Most I drink strong is alcohol. And you're in a foreign country and you're walking down the street and you're Black, the first thing kids walk up and ask if you have weed to sell, if you have drugs to sell. And that's one of the things I struggle to deal with. Why is me? Why is it supposed to be me and not somebody else like you? Why you always have to come to me, and why you think that because of the color of my skin and the image that was painted in your head, I am the drug dealer. I am the dispenser for your sins. Right? That's one of the images I had to deal with amongst the strangers here. The other thing, your question, the first question you asked, you said, how should we deal with conflict? You guys answer most of the question, but one of the things is that know who your friends are, right? To be honest, I speak to you guys more than any of my friends that I grew up with now, because the world had separated me from them. So I know who my friends are. They're the same thing. They eat the same bread. They drink the same wine with me, right? I know how to call them and ask them to help me solve a problem. So I know that Willie or Elba or Khalil wouldn't say something about me, because I know what we stand together with, right? And the word of God. The other thing that we have to do as men is set boundaries and set limits, right? If we don't set boundaries with certain people, right, they'll always cross it and disrespect you, right? And I try to tend to set boundaries and let that person know where I stand, right? And deal with, and some people you have to deal with them accordingly, right? And when I say accordingly, it's how they think. Sometimes you have to think like them and know what to say to them and how to speak to them, right? But one of the fundamental keys is always, I apologize, I'm sorry. Especially when you know you are wrong, but My right is my right, and if my right is right, I will stand up and defend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? So
And that's something that it's a fine line, but I think we need to learn how to walk it better. Is
yeah,
you know, like, because it's you should be respected. You should not be disrespected. The question is, how do you respond to it when you are disrespected? And you have the right to voice your grievance when somebody has wronged you. And we should also not be afraid or be man enough, if you will, to acknowledge if we've wronged somebody else. That keep down our conflict. Like, again, taking accountability. Men take accountability for what they've done. Be man. You got to be man enough to take accountability. Oftentimes, I'm gonna say this, and I know there's it. Well, I really don't care. You oftentimes see that children and a lot of women today, and unfortunately, a lot of males are unable to take accountability. See, when you take accountability, the next thing is reconciliation, repairing, and change. But if you never take accountability, then you can never get past the problem. Brother, thank you. Oh, go ahead, brother. You got something?
yeah. When you change and you take the change, they say you're radical and you're gone cuckoo and you're conspiracy theorist. Because you're not doing what the world asks you to do, right? So when you change and you repent and you say, look, things I did in the past was wrong, right? You tell everybody that, and I'm not doing that anymore. Don't call me on a Friday night because the Lord said I must wholly convocate and follow his laws and statutes. And when I say I'm not doing that, your friends them call you cuckoo and you're crazy, and well, they're not my friends anymore. But that's the situation you get ostracized, and it's a good thing because you have to be that example for them now, right? You can't go back into their life with their ways, the ways you once had. So you know they separate you. Some will come, some will not come. And that's the thing now is that I'm a cultist and I'm a crazy man and nobody. So I have you guys, and I hope you know it. I value this relationship, and as I said, I call one or two of the guys and we talk. You know, the other day, brother Elba called me, chatted with me, and that was so uplifting because I know there are people who are just like me, right? And the importance of that. And you learn here every day from the things you guys say. And that is why important now. So if I have a conflict and I can't, and this is the other thing, right? I'm in a conflict and I can't resolve it, I'm gonna call anyone to help me. Hey, this is the problem I had. How could we do this? Hey, you think should call the brother, the elder, and hear what he say? That is the thing. We have to lean on each other when the problem is above us. And pray. Pray.
Yeah, that's an excellent point you're making, brother. As far as if we had conflict, like you say, lean on the brothers and lean on God and prayer. Yeah, that is key. That'll keep down conflict. Because sometimes we don't know how to address the situation. But a brother that has a little age or has experience in that, hey, this is what I did. I was experiencing that, or I know about this. This is what I can offer as far as counsel. So yeah, that's an excellent point, brother. Having those brothers, iron sharpen iron, having those brothers that you can talk to. All praise the Most High. Brother Austin, you had something? Is your hand up?
Yeah, I think Brother Khalil,
Brother Khalil was first.
Yeah, he was first.
Go ahead, brother.
Okay. One thing I wanted to say, Brother Isaiah made a good point, and teacher, you've shown me this, and I kind of already believed it. There's a certain amount of disrespect you have to take from anybody. Like, obviously, if you do something stupid and you say, yeah, I kind of deserve to be checked a little bit and I did something stupid. But if somebody comes to you in a disrespectful manner, especially when it's unwarranted, you don't have to just sit there and accept it. And in a very good many cases you shouldn't. Like like when that person said, "I'm gonna pray for y'all," and you were just like, "All right, that's I'm drawing the line right here, right now, and I'm gonna show you what's what, but I'm gonna show you what's what with the word, and I'm not gonna have this." And I see many men, and goes one or two ways in the Black community. Either they get way too mad and they'll do something destructive to themselves and to somebody else's life, or they just bow their head in defeat and accept whatever level of disrespect is, whether it's coming from their girlfriend, their wife, people in the workplace. I've seen it happen a lot to people in the workplace, and I keep telling, especially like with men of color against men that aren't men of color, they'll just take it. I'm like, there's a certain level of disrespect you have to take from anybody, and it's okay for you to put your foot down. Like, if your boss, hits you with the N-word with a hard ER, you just don't have to sit there and take it. At some point, there's a line that you get to decide, like, this is my line, and nobody should cross it.
Yeah, nah, that's an excellent point. Like I was saying earlier, that disrespect, you don't have to, you see what I'm saying? Nobody should sit there and you don't have to sit there and get disrespected. And but how do you respond to that disrespect? That's key. And sometimes I'm not talking about your boss call. Because sometimes people think, oh, this is a boss. Listen, you a human being just like they are. And if they are doing something that is in violation, oftentimes on the job you have recourses. You call somebody N-word on the job, you don't snap off. You say, oh, taking you to corporate, or I'm doing whatever. You know what I'm saying? But you just, in certain things though, it's like people snap off on people, like you were talking about what we just mentioned about somebody talking crazy and then saying, I'm gonna pray for you. It's just like, me even talking to you is beneath me. And that's not arrogant. That's just like because you're ignorant. So why should I even be upset with you? I'm gonna just end the conversation. Well, I'm gonna sit here and argue with you, and you can't tie your shoes. You see what I'm saying? That don't make sense to me. That don't make. I was like, okay. So I'm like, wait a minute. You just ignorant. So if I have a specific understanding or something that's common sense that you don't understand and you don't want to understand, well, that's the end of the conversation. So you can go over there and be ignorant. I don't have to continue the conversation with you, and that will kill all that. That's another way to kill conflict. Kill a conversation. Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, brother. Austin, you had something?
Yes, sir. I was going to say that I think that people look at us very comically, as if we not men, and I think that sometimes you see that we try to like you talk about accountability. We try to justify the self-hatred that we have for ourselves through the actions that we do. And I think that that's a big problem. And I be thinking about some of these things because I be reading about like what men have done in the past, like some of the men that we studied in class, like Toussaint Louverture, Marcus Garvey, Denmark Vesey, all of those men who like stood against all of those adversities that they were facing.
Fearless.
Yeah. And where we at right now, it's like we don't have no basics at all. So
that's another thing that I've been thinking. It's funny you mentioned that. I've been thinking about like fear and how it basically hinders you.
Yeah.
And one thing that those great men, not saying they didn't have fear, but they worked through that fear to do what they needed to do. Like you said, Toussaint Louverture, he was a genius.
Yeah.
But there's no way in the world that you know, you think about it, you wouldn't be afraid of going against the French.
Yeah.
You know, Demarvisi or Nat Turner, you know, or like Marcus Garvey. You know, there's no, I mean, the man, what those men and the pressure they were up under. You know, but if you ever want to listen to something just from a historical tip, listen to Marcus Garvey's speech, Look for Me in the Whirlwind. You know, I mean, just the man was fearless, and the man built the biggest Black movement in the history of the world.
Yeah.
In a time where Black people still getting lynched. You were talking about, my brother Anthony was talking about Malcolm. And as Ossie Davis said, he was our Black shining prince. You know, you think about Malcolm, Malcolm was a man. Speaking truth to power like that, he was fearless. You know, and then when you see men, and that's the thing, particularly Black men, when you see them together and unafraid and not shucking and jiving, not acting like a buffoon, that makes other people, that makes them more afraid than if you depicted yourself or carried yourself as a quote unquote thug.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you think about what he did when he marched to the police station and took that brother up out the police station. I don't know if that's in that book. It's you know, that's a historical record. It's also in his Spike Lee's movie. As the white officer said, that's too much power for one man to have, or something to that effect. That's right. That's really what people not trying to see. That's what people not trying to see. Because that's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I was studying Muammar Gaddafi, and what he would have done if he was able to have put forth that currency that he was trying to.
Yeah, backed by the gold dinar.
Yeah, that would have been crazy. But just seeing like the different type of mindset that these men have who like trying to do something, it just make me reflect on like what, like how bogus things are in America. Just you can't even, for you to operate in manhood is viewed as a bad thing. So,
yeah, you have to it's one of those things, like, to preserve manhood is to, you basically risking it all. You're gonna preserve manhood, you're gonna risk your relationship with your woman, because oftentimes women have been told that, hey, it's 50-50 or they in charge. So, or you're gonna risk it on your job, because you're gonna risk losing your job because you want to preserve your masculinity. I don't think people understand what it is to be a man on a job, a Black man, unless you're a Black man, you know the things you have to deal with. And then unfortunately, a lot of times you'll hear it, or it'll be your Black women that'll come against you on the job. Unfortunately, not saying all the time, because that's not all the time, but a lot of times you'll see that. So you have that. You have what the larger society and how it depicts you. You have those of the police and how they may profile you because of the job that they have. You know what I'm saying? And so it's just it's not easy. It's not easy, and you're really risking everything. And then that's just you risky. It's everything is at risk. Just living. Now, when you're talking about doing something, think about, because we could talk about like those historical figures. We talk about Marcus Garvey, what he was going against in the white power structure of the world. Because he had millions of followers. The UNIA was all over the world, from the United States to Australia. Okay, all throughout the Caribbean, all places in Europe, all throughout Latin America, all throughout the United States. But then you have all that pressure from these governments, these Western governments that were against him. But in addition to that, he had Black people against him. W.E.B. Du Bois was against him. A. Philip Randolph was against him. They ran a campaign of defamation and ad hominem against him.
Yeah.
So it's the pressure you get from your own people. Think about Martin Luther King at the end of his life. I don't agree with the Martin Luther King program, but when he spoke out in that speech beyond Vietnam, many blacks said, you have gone beyond the civil rights movement. You think about Malcolm and how people were against him. That's pressure. That's pressure. And then, it's when you die, everybody loves you. They shedding crocodile tears at your funeral. Take me, about to jump in the casket. You was the main one. That was a hindrance. So you talk about, like you mentioned, great men. Again, I don't agree with necessarily programs because I understand the program of the book. But at the same time, look at Moses. Look at that pressure. So you got to go before man. That's why he was like, hey, I don't speak well. You should, I'm the one. He said, go. It took God to come before him and said, go. Mm-hmm. So you got to go before Pharaoh. That's like going before the president. Mm-hmm. That's not no joke. So yeah, that's those men. That's just something that's been on my mind and reading and thinking about men that have done great things is how you have to be fearless. You can't be afraid. Because fear can save your life in certain situations, but fear will cause you to be incapacitated. So I don't know if anybody else had anything before we close it out.
I was going to ask, when you look at the groups based on how you, if you just take them, section them out based on the images that are being portrayed, which group is the largest?
Brother, did you say I kind of couldn't hear you when you said when you look at the groups, and then what'd you say after that?
If you take the images of the black man and you put them into groups, which group do you think would be the largest? I know the one that they put out there that we would think is the largest.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Which of those images, as far as put the images in groups,
the images of black men in groups,
right? Like the gangster, the businessman, I was saying, which one is really? Does anybody know which one is really largest? How do you overcome the stigma? If is it that if it's the businessman, the professional that that has the biggest group, does he need to have a louder voice, or he just?
Okay, so are you asking which group is more prominent in the collective mindset of people in the country? Or are you asking which group is the largest, like amongst those groups? Like, are we more businessmen, or are we more? Is that what you're asking?
Right.
And then you're saying a voice.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, if you're asking which group is bigger, what do y'all brothers think?
I saw a recent video where it was this black lawyer. He was discussing some statistics about black men and how a large majority of them have moved to like upper middle class, and that's something that I didn't know because that's not something that you think about. But statistics show things are different than what people perceive them to be.
Yeah, they are different from what people perceive. Even like a black men that are not necessarily quote unquote educated with a college degree, many of them have skills where they're educated in trades in which they can make better money than a lot of people who have quote unquote degrees in basket weaving and underwater dancing or whatever it is, so I think the problem though, which with the root of the problem, brother, in part, is the problem is we don't control the image.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't control it, we don't control the image because we don't control media. So I'm not saying you can't, like, okay, so like it's certain things that we basically allow just because it's on TV. We happy to see ourselves on screen. It's certain things that come out we just shouldn't even support, and we should control our own media. We don't see. So you think about BET, that's owned by Viacom now. We don't control the media. So if you don't control the media, then you don't control your image. And when you don't control your image, the one who controls the media can depict you in any way that they want.
So it sounds like, you know, that I don't know if you call it, I don't know if the right word be fantasy versus the reality of what was really going on. I mean, you know, because if the statistics say that upper middle class, you know, it just seems.
Well, you got those, not saying most are in upper middle class, because the average Black male makes $40-something thousand a year. So, but Black men are more stable than people give us credit for. That's the issue. Yeah. But at the same time, when you look at because see, a lot of media is entertainment, and we look at what's for entertainment value, depicting us in a particular way serves one. It agrees with the already entrenched depiction of Black people, but also it has entertainment value. It's not an entertainment value for the Black man that's a plumber that's taking care of his kids.
That goes back to the scenario of what's most important to the Black communities, you know, and in most cases people would say just want to be entertained.
We love entertainment. Yeah, all we need is what's it, Russell Crowe? Are you not entertained? We like, yes, we love to be entertained. We love to be entertained, and we love to consume. Yeah. Consume products. You know, we are consumers.
You know, because when you look at the collective, like us, we're small. You know, because you know, when I look at the different programs that each one of the classes have on YouTube, you know, even you look at IOG. I mean, they're not having any services, you know, live. But when you look at it, it's only maybe 2,500 people on there the whole time. They're all over. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a different I won't say subject, but like that just speaks to how small believers are. The sect, it's a sect, because even when you look at even when Jesus was walking the scene, everybody called himself a Christian now, but the Christians back then, they were small. There was a small group. There was a small group, and that word went throughout the world. There was a small group. You know, and that's one thing too. You don't know who you're. First of all, those brothers, like Brother Bowie, and the work that he's done over these almost 50 years or so. How many people had he touched in one way or the other? How many people has he influenced? So even though it may be a couple thousand people there, I would venture to say that he's touched hundreds of thousands. Even if you think about it, like for example, we small. I'm nothing in regard to, you know what I'm saying, as far as but I sold like 25,000 books. So that's just, I know that's 20.
Congratulations.
Well, that wasn't for all praise to the Most High. That wasn't for congratulations. Bro. That's just saying, like, that's
just
like
good, man.
You see, but you understand what I'm saying? I don't have to outwit nothing like that, like a Brother Bowie. Brother Bowie have touched hundreds of thousands of people over the years. So that's what I'm saying. So like, even though we can look at it, that's a different topic. But yeah, it's small, relatively speaking. It's not Osteen, who has his place is the former
stadiums.
Rocket Stadium.
Right.
But the truth that Brother Bowie has taught over the years and the people that he's impacted is instrumental. So, but yeah, it is small because that widest gate is broadest way to lead to destruction. And they go in there at. But straightest gate and narrow is the way to lead us unto life. A few that be that find it. It ain't never been big. Even amongst Israel, even within Israel, you had a nation that was given a law, but then so many weren't adhering to it. You know, so many. That's why I ended up in captivity. So many weren't adhering to it. Even when you look at where you had to go outside the camp to deal with God because people had gone astray so much, so they weren't dealing with it. So it's just like today, that really has remained, and that's something that I think I see that because we're small, right? And I see that in dealing with people. Number one, people want to go somewhere where it's a lot of people. They want to go somewhere where it's a lot of people, and they don't want to work. They want to go somewhere that's already established and sit down in nice, comfortable seats as if it was always like that. So that's our nature. So we looking for, a lot of times we as individuals looking for a crowd because there's comfortability in the group of people. But as far as relatively speaking, no, it hasn't. That took a lot of years to build up, and no, it's not big, relatively speaking, compared to some of these other places. It's not the Potter's house, but they lying in the Potter's house. Brother, did anybody else have a question? I saw Brother Joseph's hand. I was trying to. Do you have a question? Or not a question, but a comment, brother?
Yeah, I was just wanting to lean on the brothers. Y'all said something about leaning on each other earlier. Y'all pray for a situation I'm going through. I am having contention with a fella trying to squat on my land. And he's already threatened my life. The one and only time that I did meet him, most times I went down there, he was gone. But I went down there and he met me at the gate. Well, his makeshift gate, he had a cable strung across the road that I had cut many years before, and was talking about he had a screwdriver in his hand talking about putting it in my gut. Well, I kind of just stepped over the cable and walked off into the property, give him time to calm down. And I walked around looking around and went back and talked to him a bit and asked if we could talk. If we could talk rationally. He says, "Can we?" I said, "Well, I'm asking you." And so he calmed down. He says that he was intending on leaving. He got a job and he's busy, and well, he's not going anywhere. He keeps blowing smoke. I think he's going to try and stay there long enough to start trying to make a claim on it. And so I've got plans to go down there with a crew of big country boys and a crew of trucks and a crew of trailers. And me and the sheriff are going to go down there while the crew sits somewhere else. Me and the sheriff's going to go down there early, hopefully catch him before he goes off to work, so I can let him know in front of the sheriff that I don't want him there, that he's got to go. And then when he leaves to go to work, me and the crew's going to come back and clear tons of stuff he has on that property away from there, get it gone. And
okay, well, brother, do me a favor and don't get stabbed in your gut. And make sure, like you said, you go there with the sheriff if that's what because somebody threatening your life, you won't take it. You want to believe them.
Yeah.
Just make sure you just try to use wisdom in that situation, and don't get stabbed.
Yeah, well,
that's the main. Don't get stabbed. Yeah, because somebody talking like that, you don't. He may have a spirit on him. You don't know what's going on with him, but
Well, I've done
You
all
don't have
kind
a
of.
right to sit on your land. So
I've already left notes letting him know. Look, he's got to go. I've tried a makeshift eviction type tactic. That didn't work. So now I'm just going to go have to strong on him. And, I'm just praying that maybe God will maybe see him away from there before I have to go to that extent. I've already got it planned out and set up. I'm just waiting on the date. And I'm going to go back up there and do that. If he's gone already, well, that would be good, and I just want y'all to pray for the situation. Lean on my brothers for
yeah, and that's the thing. Sometimes that you had those situations where there's no reasoning with people. If y'all didn't catch what he's talking about, is somebody he's trying to build on his land. He purchased some time ago, and somebody's basically just squatting on his land and won't leave and threatening to kill him. This is not he's not living on a structure. I'm assuming he's built some structure on that land or some kind of tent or something.
Yeah, he's got vehicles with tarps hanging out off of the side of the vehicles, and yeah, he's just sitting out there in vehicles and tents and stuff like that. He's been there for probably going on a year.
Yeah, he's just squatting. Yeah, that's some Florida stuff there, but that's some country stuff there that you can't even find no land to do that out here. But yeah, so
Sheriff don't do that.
What's that?
You say the sheriff won't do anything?
They've been out there. They've looked at all the vehicles. He takes vehicles out there and then takes them apart and leaves them. I guess he's selling parts off of them, selling engines and stuff. I don't know, but the sheriff said he ran all the VINs on them because, of course, the man wasn't out there at the time, but he's run the VINs on them and he doesn't see any that are reported stolen. So we don't know. I believe he can't be getting them all legit like that. But the sheriffs have been out there. I've talked to them on several occasions. And they always keep telling me, well, when you decide to go back out there, then give us a call. Well, usually when I go out there, it's just on a spur of the moment. I'll go out there and most times the man's not even there. In fact, one time I went there and saw 2 fires burning, nobody there. So it's a very precarious situation.
Yeah, you talk about that.
Up there.
Often, yeah, because you can't just squat on my land.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's planned. I'm not gonna let it happen. I mean, I'm not gonna just bend over and let him just take it. So
that don't even make sense. Like just the mindset. That's what I'm saying. You gotta be careful with that. Like, somebody talking like that, because that makes absolutely no sense. Like, oh, I'm gonna stab you because I'm on your land and you came.
Yeah, well, there was a sign when he came up and asked me about that. I was standing there reading a sign that he had up. I took it down, but it was directed towards the owner of the property. So he got rights and I don't know the law. And I'm looking at that sign. I'm like, what? And he had explicit language on there, stuff like that. I took it down. I cut it up and I burned it. I took his cables away from the road that I cut years ago when I did used to live on it, and stuff like that. He's got something wrong with his mind. I guess he thinks he's a lawyer and thinks he's just gonna file claims on it and get it, but that's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I mean, this was a perfect subject to bring that up. Yeah, I want to lean on my brothers here. I've been praying about it.
Yeah, I understand, brother. Hopefully the Lord willing that'll be resolved, but be careful, use wisdom.
Yes.
Make it the same.
Did anybody else have anything else? Because it's 10:40 in New Jersey.
Yeah, I have something to say. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, brother. How you doing?
Good. First of all, I'm a little concerned about the situation that was just described. So I'll be praying for you regarding that. That sounds very serious. And definitely get the police or get someone out there and have them in front. You just use the law in this case. Use the law on your side. Don't try to handle it yourself. Otherwise, it'll be your story against his story, and it'll be a problem. So you need to separate yourself from him. But one of the things I thought about, and I got in the Zoom late. I didn't get into about 9 o'clock. And so I may have missed quite a bit. But one thing that I have always thought about when we talk about how our image is and how we present it, we never hear about someone that is those people who are telling the story. We never hear about them talking about one of them killing one of them. It's always the story about one of us killing one of us or doing something crazy. And the murder rate against themselves is close to the murder rate that we have against each other. But we never hear, I never hear, I'll say, about a Gentile or a white man killing another white man or a Gentile. I never hear that. It's never on the news. But yet it's said that the rate is at the same rate, just about, like 80-some%. So I just, we look at these images that are being portrayed toward us and consider who's telling the story and how they're telling it. Because we never hear that. We never hear about a murder just, unless it's a mass murder. We hear about someone on the other side or that is not us killing at a high level, school, or they have gone in and shot up some people in some bar or shooting from some tower somewhere. But we never hear about a one-on-one where somebody just got shot, somebody killed somebody over some issue that they're having with each other. So I'm just mindful that, I usually would just try to operate within what God is saying. And I try to look at things based on what my rights are with God and try to stand on that. And so that means that's going to put me in conflict with other things that's going on. So that's kind of how I try to operate. And then we are always portrayed, as you all was speaking that I'd heard, we're always portrayed in a negative light. So even in that negative light, if we stand and be men, then that would not uphold what is happening, who we are. Some truth will come out of that, and it'll put us at risk. But we are still trusting in the Lord to sustain us and hold us and keep us, and fight for us against our enemies. My problem, and I think a lot of our problems, is we have done so many things in our life that's not in line with the word. So standing up within the word, we don't know if the Lord is going to call some of these wrongdoings that we've done upon us to have some justice for the things we've done. So if we can really clean ourselves up and trust in the Lord, knowing we're doing what's right, and we know we've not walked in the way that he has instructed us to do, but if we can just hold true to what a man is and just deal with whatever punishment we have to go through and take, like Malcolm X, who stood and knew. Martin did the same thing too. Martin was nervous and jumping, but he never wavered from continuing his struggle for what he believed to be right and the thing to do, which was that conflict with the larger society that we are now in captivity under. So he knew what the consequences was going to be, You know, a firework went out one time. A firework went off one time when he was marching, and he looked like he jumped out of his skin, just about. Martin did. You know, and Malcolm knew. Malcolm said one time, you know, I'm already a dead man. One time. So if we're not willing to die and put our life on the line, then, you know, we really are not willing to live in a way that we want to live. And it's going to start by primarily just being obedient, which we've turned away from. We just need to turn back to it and not allow anything to turn us away from it. It's only a few of us, as pointed out, but that few just need to stand for what the Lord is saying. Because we know that if we're doing what he has told us to do, he's going to be with us and fight for us.
Okay. Now I wanna read something real quick.
Okay.
And show something real quick as well. And this, what, like I was talking about being accountable, and even when I was talking about some of the things we do, if you look in the Bible, his people been doing that. This is Hosea, the 4th chapter, in verse 1. It said, "Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel." So one thing, first and foremost, one thing the Lord would do, he would send his word to the people, to his people. And that's what we need to do right now. We need to hear his word and take heed to it. It said, "Hear the word of the Lord, ye children of Israel, for the Lord hath a controversy with the inhabitants of the land." And he's going to tell you why he has a controversy. It says, "Because there is no truth, nor mercy, nor knowledge of God in the land." He goes on to say, "For by swearing and lying and killing and stealing and committing adultery, they break out, and blood toucheth blood." So now all this sin, including murder. Then he said, "Therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away." And when we look at what we are experiencing as a people, we really don't have peace. And we don't have peace because of sin. We don't have peace as a people because of sin. The main thing we've done is turn our back on our God. And in turning our backs on our God, we've turned our backs on morality itself, because we turned our back on the law that he gave. So then it says, your land is going to mourn for that. And see, so when you look in the places where we're concentrated, we're not in a good state collectively. Is it therefore shall the land mourn, and everyone that dwelleth therein shall languish with the beasts of the field and with the fowls of heaven. Yea, the fishes of the sea also shall be taken away. So you're going to lose what you have. Even when we look at, even today, what we think we have, we don't really have it. What I mean by that, you think you got a house, don't pay the mortgage. You think you got a car, don't pay the note. You're going from month to month, check to check. And it said, "Nevertheless, yet let no man strive nor reprove another, for thy people are as they that strive with the priest. Therefore shalt thou fall in the day, and the prophet also shall fall with thee in the night, and I will destroy thy mother." So he's given a charge against a nation that is full of sin. See, we can't make excuses. Then he says in verse 6, "Because what we're doing is this here." He said, "My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee." And that's what we've done as a people. The plans that we come up with and the mindset that we have and the ideologies that we follow are foolishness. And we see the results of this foolishness. He said, "I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, saying thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children." Now, see, that's the situation they were in then, and that's the situation we in now. And I want to show you something, because quite frankly, we do have a problem with murder. We could talk about, other people. You're right when you saying what other people, they don't show other people, but one thing is for sure, we 12% of the population. This is from Office of Juvenile, this is from the U.S. Department of Justice. Okay. Now, this is estimated number of arrests by offense and race from 2019. This is all ages. And this is the latest year in these statistics. So now when we look at murder, you see with 11th, you see we got more than half of the murders. That's what I'm talking about as far as accountability. That's ugly. That's strong coffee. We don't want to deal with that. We can't make no excuse. Poverty can't be an excuse. What white people have done can't be an excuse. I know we don't want to hear that. We got to first deal with ourselves and what we're doing to ourselves. I understand all the programs that there's been one program after another that's been against us, but we can't carry out our own program of destruction. We gotta again look to God and look to ourselves and be accountable. We got to. Ain't no, you can look at TV and they could riot about somebody who did something wrong against a cop that did something wrong against a black person. I'm not riding for that cop. What I am saying is that, man, we killing a lot of our own people. You can't deny it statistically. So that's and just when it comes to people killing, who people kill whites, Latinos kill Latinos, blacks kill blacks. That's how that usually works. You kill the people that you live in proximity to. And I understand poverty, but at the same time, we have to deal with some morality. We got to get back in this. We got to get back to what thus saith the Lord. And we can't have no excuses. So I just wanted to show that because that's, and what we're seeing now is something that we've been doing as a people. But anybody have anything else before I close it down and shut it down? Nothing else. All right then, brethren. I appreciate each and every one of you sincerely. And we're praying for y'all. And Lord willing, I'll see you in a few hours for question and answer. And I say enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right now. Peace,
Good night,
everybody.
brother.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Family.
Peace, everyone.
Peace, everyone.
Peace.
All right, peace, everybody.
Peace, brother.
Peace.